Can I ask you something a little uncomfortable? If your billing team can't answer these questions, you have a revenue leak. You do not have a billing problem. You have a visibility problem. Same meeting, same screen, same questions. Your denial rate climbs, your AR days creep up, and visibility problems are what let revenue cycle issues compound quietly for months before they show up as a cash flow crisis. If I called your billing manager right now and asked them what your net collection rate was last week, would they know? If the answer is no, or if the honest answer is I think so, but I'd have to check, you do not have a billing problem. You have a visibility problem. And visibility problems are what let revenue cycle issues compound quietly for months before they show up as a cash flow crisis. Hi, I'm Asrin. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to run your billing team at your practice like a tech company runs a finance meeting. The practices that catch billing problems early, the ones running at 97% net collection rates and 30-day AR, are not smarter than you. They just built one habit. They look at 5 numbers together every single week with the right people in the room. That's it. That's the whole system. Let me walk you through exactly how it works. Here's the reality. Most RCM meetings are a reporting exercise. Someone pulls up a dashboard, reads the numbers off the screen, everyone nods, and then absolutely nothing changes before your next week. Your denial rate climbs, your AR days creep up, and 4 weeks later, you're in the same meeting, looking at the same screen, asking the same questions. Today, I'm giving you the exact structure that turns your RCM meeting from a status update into the most important operational tool in your practice. So, why are most RCM meetings broken? Before we fix the meeting, we need to understand exactly how it breaks, because the failure modes are specific, they're predictable, and they're almost certainly happening in your practice right now. Now, the first mode of failure is having the wrong people in the room. This one is the most common and the most damaging, actually. Here's what a typical RCM meeting looks like. The billing manager is there, maybe a coder, maybe a practice admin, and that's it. But here's what is also true. The front desk lead, who's responsible for verifying eligibility before a patient walks in, not in the room. The provider who's dictating documentation errors into every third claim because nobody ever told them which fields the payer actually requires, definitely not in the room. The scheduler who keeps booking procedures without capturing prior authorizations because the workflow was never fixed, not there either. So you're sitting in a room talking about downstream problems, denials, rejections, delayed payments, without the people who are actually in control, who control the upstream inputs that cause them. The people who create RCM problems are almost never in the room where RCM problems get discussed. That is your first fix. Second mode of failure is reviewing everything instead of the right things. I've sat in RCM meetings where the agenda was a 40-slide deck covering 28 different metrics, and by slide 15, no one even pays attention. By slide 28, everyone's 20 minutes late for their next thing and nothing has been decided. The problem is not that the data is wrong. The problem is that when you look at everything equally, you act literally on nothing. Your attention gets so spread out that the 3 metrics that are actually costing you real money get the same 90 seconds as the 12 metrics that are fine. High-performing practices have figured out that the 5 metrics drive 80% of the revenue risk. And if you walk into a meeting knowing those 5 numbers and only those 5, you will make better decisions in 45 minutes than most practices make in literally 3 hours, staring at a full dashboard. Third mode of failure, the conversation stops at reporting, not root cause. This one is subtle and is the hardest to fix because it requires a cultural change, not just a process change. Here's what reporting sounds like. Our denial rate went up 2 points this week. Here's what the root cause sounds like. United Healthcare denied 34 claims this week, all of them for authorization failure on procedure code 97110. Our authorization coordinator was not notified of a policy update that went live on the 1st of every month. Every claim submitted for that code since the 1st without the updated prior auth language is sitting in the denied bucket. The first version of that conversation produces a note. The second version produces a fix. And most practices stop at the number. But the number is not the answer. It is the question. The meeting's job is to literally answer it. The goal of this meeting is not to know what happened last week. The goal is to decide what changes before next week. Now let's discuss about who needs to be in the room, who belongs in this meeting, and who does not. Getting the right people in the room is not just about accountability. It is about having the decision-making authority in one place so that when a root cause is identified, someone can actually fix it on the spot. Now, the non-negotiable attendees are your revenue cycle manager or director. This person owns the agenda, prepares the 5-metric 1-pager in advance, and runs the meeting from start to finish. The second person is your billing lead, the person who's closest to the claims data, the denial trends, and the payer-specific patterns. Third person, front desk or patient access lead. Because the research is consistent that between 60 and 80% of claim denials originate at the front end of the revenue cycle, in registration and scheduling, not in billing. Fourth is practice manager or COO, whoever owns the operational decisions, because most of the fixes you will identify require operational authority to implement. Your fifth person is your CFO or finance lead. Weekly, if your AR is over 40 days, at minimum bi-weekly. The CFO cannot manage cash flow without understanding where the cycle is actually breaking. Now, we have some high-value optional attendees as well. These people would be really good to have in these meetings, but again, if your first attendees, your non-negotiables are there, it would create most of the value. However, if these optional attendees are also there, it will significantly give you more information into your overall trends and your analysis. The optional attendees include a provider representative. It could be rotated quarterly or whoever has the highest denial rate that month. Providers are often the last to actually know their documentation patterns are creating billing problems. This is the most efficient way to close that loop. The second person would be your billing vendor or account manager. If you outsource any part of your billing, they need to be accountable inside your meeting, not just on a monthly cadence call where you discuss all of your metrics. Now, who does not belong? Anyone who only receives information and cannot act on it does not belong in that meeting. Keep this meeting to like 10 people or fewer. Once it gets bigger than that, it becomes a presentation. Presentations do not produce action items. Now, here are the 5 metrics every medical practice should review weekly or basically lose money. Write these down, put it on a wall next to whoever runs your meeting. These 5 numbers are your entire early warning system for financial health at your practice. If your billing team can't answer these questions and can't put out these 5 metrics, you have a revenue leak. Now, the first metric is days in accounts receivable. This is your single most important financial health indicator. Days in AR tells you the average number of days between when a service is delivered and when a payment is actually received. It is a measure of the efficiency of your entire revenue cycle management system, from the moment a patient walks in to the moment a check clears. But best run practices in physical therapy and orthopedics maintain 25 to 30 days AR. According to MGMA, top performing practices maintain days in AR at about 30 days or less, with the acceptable range under 40 days. If you're at 40 or above, you have a structural problem somewhere in your cycle. If you're above 50, you are looking at a cash flow crisis that may not have announced itself yet, but is coming. Now, your benchmark here would be under 35 days. 40 to 50 is a warning. Over 50 requires immediate escalation. In your weekly meeting, you want to see this week's number, last week's number, and the 30-day trend, not the number in isolation. Our second metric is first pass clean claim rate. This is the percentage of claims accepted by payers on the first submission. No edits required, no rejections, no rework. Industry benchmark for a clean claim rate is approximately 95% or higher. The best run practices hit 97 to 99%. Every percentage point below 95 has a real cost attached to it. A claim that gets rejected and has to be reworked and resubmitted takes an average of 11 to 14 days to pay. It burns staff time. It introduces the possibility of claims getting lost or abandoned. And at scale, a 3% gap in your clean claim rate can literally mean 6 figures of annual revenue that is delayed, maybe diminished or gone. Benchmark it at 95% or higher. Below 90 means something systematically is broken at the front end. The most common causes of degraded clean claim rate are eligibility verification failures. The patient's coverage was not confirmed before the visit, there were coding errors, documentation gaps, provider-specific dictation patterns that consistently produced incomplete records. In your meeting, when the clean claim rate dips below benchmark, the first question is which payer, which provider, which code range. The answer will almost always point to one specific breakdown in your upstream process. The third metric that matters is denial rate, and more importantly, denial root cause. Your overall denial rate really matters. A denial rate review without a root cause breakdown is like a doctor reviewing like a patient's vital sign without asking what hurts. In your weekly meeting, you want to see denials organized by 3 dimensions. It could be by payer, by provider, and by reason code. The reason code are where the fixes are actually hiding. The most common denial reason codes in PT and ortho practices fall into 4 buckets. It is the authorization failures. You submitted without a valid prior auth, or the auth was outdated. This is a front desk workflow problem. It could be eligibility failures. The patient's coverage was inactive or the plan was not verified. This might be a scheduling technology problem. Third would be your coding errors. It could be procedure code, diagnosis code, a modifier was missing, or maybe it was incorrect. It might be a training problem or a provider-specific dictation problem. And 4 would be documentation insufficiency. The clinical record did not support the billed service level. This might require a clinical workflow change or documentation support, which could actually help fix that. The benchmark, under 5% overall denial rate. Any single reason code driving more than 20% of your denials is a fire that needs to be named and owned in that meeting. The 4th metric is AR aging, specifically the over 90-day bucket. Your aging report tells you how long your outstanding claims have been waiting for payment, broken into time buckets: 0 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, and over 90. Now, the 0 to 30 bucket is healthy. The 61 to 90 bucket is a yellow flag that needs to be followed up. Anything over 90 days is money you are statistically at risk of never collecting. Industry standard says over 90 days bucket should represent less than 10% of your total AR. In practices with strong revenue cycle, it is under 7%. If your over 90 bucket is above 15%, you do not have a collection problem, you have a recovery problem, and it requires a dedicated sprint, not just outstanding work queue. The benchmark on this would be over 90-day AR, under 10% of total. So over 15% requires a dedicated recovery sprint and immediate root cause review. The reason to watch this number weekly rather than monthly is the speed of intervention. A claim that hits 91 days today was already recoverable at 45 days. By 120 days, payer timely filing limits and patient contact lag make any of these uncollectible. You cannot afford to learn about aging problems in a monthly review cycle. Now, metric 5 is the net collection rate. This is the gold standard. Net collection rate tells you what percentage of what you're actually contractually owed. After all payer adjustments and all write-offs, you are actually collecting. Top performing practices run net collection rates at about 97 to 99%, and the MGMA benchmark for high performing practices is about 97%. So if you are below 95%, you're systematically leaving money on the table. And the question is where? The benchmark is 97 to 99%, and below 95% is a structural red flag requiring a full audit of your write-off and adjustment patterns. One important nuance here is the net collection rate can look healthy while other metrics are deteriorating because it only measures what you collected against what was collectible. If your team is making inappropriate write-offs to keep the metric looking pretty good, your net collection rate will lie to you. This is why you track all 5 metrics all together, not any of them in isolation. And now what comes next? Here's what you can do before your next revenue cycle meeting. It is one thing and it takes about 20 minutes. Pull your last 30 days of claims data. Find your 5 metric numbers: days in AR, first pass clean claim rate, denial rate, over 90-day aging bucket, and net collection rate. Write them on one page. Then write the number from 30 days ago next to each one. Then draw an arrow, up, down, or flat, for the trend. Bring that one page to your next meeting instead of the dashboard. Tell everyone in the room that today, for every number that is moving the wrong direction, someone's gonna leave the meeting with a specific task, a specific deadline, and their name attached to it. And one more thing before you go. If you're watching this and thinking about your own practice, thinking that your meeting sounds a lot like what I described at the beginning of this video, I want you to know that it is an extremely solvable problem. The practices that are running this well did not get there because they hired a new billing director or switched to a better EHR. They got there because someone decided the meeting was going to be different starting literally today. And you can also make that decision today. If you like the video and today are interested in hearing more about this content, hit the like button and subscribe button and share it with your people in your network running a practice who needs to maybe hear this. Next week, I'm going to talk about why your doctors are leaving your practice and what you need to actually do to retain them and create a really solid environment in your practice. The data on this one is going to surprise you. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. I'll see you next week.